Hello, in this PixaFlux video tutorial I'll show you how to use the mesh groups and mesh group bond nodes to create a procedural surface texture for this stylized log. The mesh groups node takes as input an image we'll paint with the group seeds, and it grows the groups from these seeds. We'll use a render 3D texture node to create the albedo texture, and the new mesh group bond node for the normal texture. With the mesh filter node we'll create the cracks between the bark plates. And we'll use 3D textures to add more detail to the normal maps. Let's go! Load the log scene. Add a mesh groups node. Set the scene and object. Without any inputs, the node creates groups from random pixel positions in the mesh. This node has 3 output images: groups, geometry, and colored. The num groups attribute controls the number of groups. The seed groups attribute generates random group seeds in different positions. The uniformity attribute controls the shape of the groups. The seed grow attribute changes the random growth of the groups. For this project, we'll paint an image with the seeds for the groups. Add a constant node and set the size to 1024 by 1024. Set the color to black. Let's display the UV mesh. Add a paint node. Set the size of the brush to 4. Set the hardness to 100%. And connect the output to seed in the mesh groups node. Set the brush color to white. And paint 2 lines. This creates 2 groups. To see the lines, let's add a blend node to the colored output. Connect the paint output as mask. And set the foreground color to white. Paint a few more lines. The mesh groups adds random colors to the groups. Add a random noise node image as color and set its size. Now when we paint more lines, the colors of the existing groups don't change. Let's work in the albedo texture. Add a render 3D texture node. Set the size to 1024 by 1024. Add a perlin texture node. Set the frequency to 4. Set the range low and range high. And set the colors. Add texture blend node. And connect a perlin texture to its mask. Set the frequency of the perlin texture to 3. Set the range low and range high. And set the seed. In the blend texture, set the foreground color. Add a scene texture node and connect the 3D texture to albedo. Add a constant node. Set the format to value and the value to 0. Connect it to metalness in the scene textures node. To break the continuity of the 3D texture, connect the mesh groups output to translate in render 3D texture. In the render 3D texture node, set the translate values to 0 and 1. This moves the texture on each group to a different position in the 3D space. Add a render 3D texture node for the albedo color in the cracks between the bark plates. Add a perlin texture and connect it. Set the colors. Set the frequency to 5 and seed to 2. For the cracks in the bark, we'll use the geometry output. Add a value condition node and set it to different to minimum. Add a mesh filter node. Set the scene and object. Set the filter to min to grow the cracks. Add a mesh filter node. Set filter to random and iterations to 5. Add a mesh filter node. Leave filter as relax and set iterations to 2. Add a blend node to the cracks 3D texture. Connect the plate's 3D texture as foreground. And connect the cracks image as mask. Set the size of the cracks 3D texture. Let's paint a few more lines. Let's work in the normal map. Add a mesh group bomb node and connect the groups as input. Set the scene and object. The mesh group bomb node has 3 outputs. Rings, which grow rings from the border of the group. Cloth, which uses a cloth algorithm to bump the groups. And erode, which uses an erosion algorithm. Set the method to cloth and iterations to 100. Add a curves node and set the curve to create a larger bump close to the borders of the plate. Add a mesh to normal node and set the multiplier to 15. Connect it to normal in the scene textures node. Add a curves node to the cracks image and set the curve for the roughness texture. A relax mesh filter node to soften the normal map. To add more detail to the normal map, we can use the bark 3D texture. Add a channel mixer and set it to monochrome. Set the contributions of each RGB channel. Add a curves node and set the curve to maximize the contrast. Add a mesh to normal node and set the multiplier to 5. Add a perturbate normal node. Set the cracks normal as background, the 3D texture normal as foreground, and the cracks as mask. For the ambient occlusion, add a curves node to the mesh group bond node output, and connect it to the scene textures node. Set the curve. Now that we have the procedural surface texture complete, we can paint more groups. Let's explore the texture with different uniformity attributes. And different seed grow attributes. The mesh groups, mesh filter, and mesh group bump nodes are extremely effective tools that, combined with other nodes in PixaFlux, can create very complex procedural surface textures. Thank you for watching this PixaFlux video tutorial. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us in Discord, Twitter, and Instagram.